The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning. Thank you for joining today's webinar on Basecone. My name's Louise Profit and I'll be running you through a short presentation in PowerPoint to start off with and then moving on to product demonstration. Just a reminder, this webinar is being recorded and it will be circulated to you tomorrow. So if you want to share this with any of your colleagues or come back and have a look at it later on, you're more than welcome to once we send that out. We also do have a Q&A at the end of the session. We'll be taking questions via the chat area. So if you do want to start sending questions in, we have started to get some already. If you've got questions directly, and we'll try and get through as many as possible at the end of the session. Obviously, if we run out of time, we'll make sure that we circulate the replies and reply to you individually as appropriate after the event, if that's okay. So moving on then with the presentation. Sorry, slight glitch. Hopefully we won't have any more glitches as we walk through this. So we're going to cover off today why Basecone is the best for document automation and processing for invoices and expenses. What I'd like to do is a quick introduction to digital document automation using Basecone and other processes. We'll give you an overview of the key features of the Basecone product, and then we'll go into live demonstration of the software and how it integrates with existing accounting solutions. So at the moment in the UK, Basecone is integrated with Twinfield, which is a Waters Clear product, Xero, and also Exact, which is a Dutch product that some of you may or may not be aware of. I'll be able to show you the demonstration of Basecone working with both Twinfield and Xero today. We'll then go through some tips and tricks so you can hit the ground running, and then we'll open up for some Q&A at the end of the session. So really, people who come and have a conversation with us around Basecone, and we have had Basecone in the UK market for some 4 years now, people are trying to achieve real-time processing of bookkeeping data. So as accountants, as many of you are on the line, you will be faced with a paper nightmare. Where clients will bring in Tesco bags of receipts, potentially send you some PDF invoices, or with GDPR, maybe they're sending these to you via a secure portal, really full processing across into the bookkeeping software. So what we aim to achieve by using Basecone is either to automate the processes within your accountancy practice, or maybe even start to give the clients some really easy to use apps that they can use on their phones to capture the information, start to part process it maybe, and send it into the accountant for authorization. So that can be the accountant within the accountancy practice or the accountant within the business that's responsible for authorizing for posting or booking, as we call it within the software, across into the accounting application. We also do have a workflow module within the Basecone solution that I will show you today. We have an application called Flux, which is relevant to the workflow process. Using workflow, you can push invoices of certain values or maybe certain suppliers out for authorization to business directors, and there is a really simple and easy to use app to authorize those and send them back into the accounts department or authorize them for payment, and those will be released automatically in the bookkeeping software. And of course, everything that I'm showing you today is cloud-based. Basecone has only ever been a cloud application. We're very proud of that fact. We haven't moved it over from on-premise. It has no links to on-premise software. So everything that we'll be doing is real-time, able to work on any device that you've got, as long as you're connected to the internet and able to get to a browser. You can also use it on your mobile phone. And in fact, today I'm actually going to be doing the demonstration real time, tethered to my mobile phone, just to show you how quickly these cloud applications will work. You don't need huge Wi-Fi infrastructures to get these processes working. It will work in exactly the same way. We have online archiving, so as you know, within an accountancy practice, once you've processed all of that lovely information in paper format from your clients, you put it back into the boxes or bags or folders to send it back to your client. They never come and collect it, so it sits in the corner of your office. So wouldn't it be great if we could give them an online archiving or document management solution for their financial records in a similar way to you may use within your practice for practice management of your correspondence files and so on at the moment. We also have booking rules. These booking rules can be legged by the accountancy software. So if a certain document always needs to go to a certain nominal code, then we can start to set those up within the Basecone package, which will eliminate the need for you to put all of the posting rules in each time you see the same document. So for instance, if you're receiving an invoice for the electricity, it's always going to be posted to the electricity or to the rates nominal code within your bookkeeping software. So we would set that up as a rule. The business intelligence within the software, so Basecone is real-time processing. So what it will do is take OCR, so optical character recognition, it will read the document and it will use that intelligence then to help you with your archiving when it comes to recalling the documents. So you don't have to go into the accounting software to find the document, you can quickly pull it up within the Basecone application itself. And the easy authorization will come through via our Flux app, which I'll show you during the live demo. So moving on to why Basecone. So Basecone, just to reiterate, recognises submitted invoices and it will automatically code them once you've got posting rules, just to be checked and approved and then pushed straight across into your bookkeeping software. So it will aim to speed up the processes that you have within your business. Basecone will give you real-time insights into the status of the documents. It will help you ensure that your bookkeeping is up to date. And as many of you know, if you're working in an accountancy practice or if you're a VAT registered business, we're on the cusp of MTD for VAT filing. We do want to make the bookkeeping processes as real-time accessibility as possible to ensure that we'll be able to get timely records across to the revenue and our clients don't end up with any fines or out-of-date records that we then have to go back and change. So on to the live demonstration. I'm sure it's what you're really waiting for. So let's switch the PowerPoint off and I'm going to switch across into the Basecone application right now. Okay, so I'm just going to log into Basecone. Before I do that, what you will see on your screen is the login screen. If you do use a single sign-on within your practice, Basecone will work with single sign-on. So that means you may have a portal already where your clients will be able to log straight into applications without the necessity to log in once again. We also have multi-factor authentication. That means that we also, as well as putting in a username and password, we will get a text message come to a mobile phone or to a different email address that we have to put in every time we want to go into Basecone. Of course, you don't have to use either of those functionalities. It's just one for me to point out to you and not something I'm going to show in the demonstration, but just so you are aware that we are always thinking about the security and the integrity of the data that we're storing in the cloud. All of the data from Basecone is stored in Europe, so it does comply with the latest GDPR specifications as well. Now, for those of you who may speak a second language, you will notice Basecone is available in Dutch, German and French. I am going to demonstrate in English because I don't speak any of those other languages. You'll be pleased to know, hopefully. So I am now going to log into our UK demo environment as a super user, and there are other user privileges that you can use within Basecone that I'll point out to you. So I just log in to the application. And they may be new to some of you. I know, looking at the list of attendees, I have a couple of clients on here as well, so you may have seen this before. So I'm just going to explain the layout of the product and just move something off my screen. Okay, so looking at the product, it's basically 4 sections. So down the left-hand side, you have your menu. The menu will take you to the different areas of Basecone. As I hover next to any of the menu items, it will actually tell me what each one is relating to, but I will pop into those as we go through the demonstration today. The next panel along is showing me the clients that I have access to as a user. Now, those aren't the only clients that sit within the UK demo environment, but they are the 2 that I want to use for my demonstration today. So I have locked other clients down. So you can really select which user sees which client. You'll notice from here, hopefully, as long as you can see this on your screen, the first client is a Twinfield client. The next client down is a Xero client. That's signified by the logos of each of the applications. Moving on from the client panel, the next panel along is the list of documents. So as I have Louise demo company open at the moment, you can see the 10 items that are in my list waiting to be processed across into the bookkeeping software. So in this case, over into Twinfield. On the Xero client, I have 2 items that are sat in my virtual plastic in tray waiting to be processed across into Xero. So you'll see the two different menu types, and you'll also see next to the client name a red box that will tell you how many items are waiting to be processed within there. You'll also get email notifications if you are the super user of the software, and you can have as many super users as you want or allow within your environment, and it will tell you if you have mailboxes with lots of documents sat in there. So basically your paper invoices have been digitalized, they have gone electronic, they are in the virtual plastic in tray, but still the bookkeeping process has not moved on, and these have not been pushed across into the bookkeeping software. So you will get those notifications from Basecone as well. The next panel along is actually a preview pane. So if I do click on any of the items that sit in my virtual plastic in tray, you will see a larger image of the invoice that has been captured. Now, of course, the best way to get documentation across into any of these invoice processing applications is to get the automation process right from the inception. So once the invoice is created, to get these sent across into the individual mailboxes of your clients, rather than them hitting their mailbox or their post box and then them being forwarded across to you as their accountant. So the way that you can do that using Basecone is each individual client that you set up will have their own unique mailbox within the Basecone server. So you can share that mailbox with your client suppliers, or if you are the client, with your own suppliers, in the same way that many of the utility companies are now only doing digitalized records. You can say to your clients that we only accept digitalized invoices and they need to be sent to this mail. Now, any of you who've got Outlook will also know that you can redirect from Outlook to another email address. So if you wanted to change the email address where things were sent to, or you do want to see them within your mailbox right now, and that is a secure mailbox because of the new GDPR rules and having personal information within there, then of course you can redirect that across into Basecone. Obviously, the best and most efficient way is to get it straight across into Basecone using this email address, and the email address can be customized. So it can be both customized before the @sign. So generally we use the client code, client name, and then after the @sign, you can actually have your own domain name within there. So if you do want to customize that so it has your practice details within there, that is a great way to market your practice to your client suppliers and show them the services that you're offering. So that's the first way that we can get electronic documents across into the Basecone package. As I said, I'll work on the Twinfield clients first because that is at the top of my list, and I will start to get documents across into here. So in total, there are 227 documents, that have been processed into this company using Basecone. So they sit within my archive facility, which I can easily access over on the left-hand side of the screen, and I'll show you later in the demonstration. There are 10 items that are waiting to be processed across into Twinfield right now. But what I want to do is get a new document across into that area for you as well, so you can see just how we go through the tagging process. So I can either use the email address, so I could jump into a Gmail account, send across an invoice here, and it will put it into my virtual plastic in tray for tagging. Tagging just means we tell it what type of document it is, and then we can process it across into the bookkeeping software. Or what I can use is this large icon to go and choose a file from my computer. So if I just click onto that, it will take me through to a folder that I've set up on my desktop, which just has a few example invoices within there. So if I just select a few of those invoices for you in here. So let's pick up 3. I just click on open, and it will bring those documents across into the system. They'll be added at the bottom of my list because they haven't been tagged yet, and these are the 3 that I've just brought across. Now, remember what I said, I'm using this as a tethering device. So I'm just copying information across, and you'll see the speed that the software is actually running at all times. So if I go to this document here, which is an Amazon invoice, these are all Amazon invoices. So you get to see a little bit of an insight into my world and the lovely things I get to buy as I process this. So as I'm clicking on my individual invoices, I can actually select multiple invoices if I wanted to. And what I could do is either go through and tag those all as the same types of documents, and the tags in this case, because this is Twinfield, can be purchase invoice, sales invoice, cash. We've got bank tags in here, journal posting, or customizable. Just to explain the customizable one, because that doesn't relate to anything to do with bookkeeping software. Customizable is purely there for you to store information on behalf of your clients in the archive that's irrelevant to the bookkeeping package. So as long as they are using it for day-to-day processing, Basecone have no issues with you actually using this in an archive for your clients as well. So that could be lease documents, terms and conditions, anything like that that they may want to securely store away. The other end of the menu bar, I actually have an icon there to merge the documents. So if the client had sent me 3 individual invoices or 3 individual pages that were one invoice, I could actually merge them so I can bring them together. So these are separate invoices. I don't want to do that, so I'm just going to click onto PMV, and Basecone does pick up the intelligence from the accounting software, in this case again Twinfield. So it's asking me at this point, do these invoices specifically relate to a project or a particular cost center? So I could put that information in before I post it across into the bookkeeping software, which will save us some time. The other thing that I can do is, using these 2 shadowy figures here, is I could put it into an authorization queue. So again, before booking it across into the accounting application, I can actually send it out to the directors of the business for authorization. And then once it's been authorized, it will come back into my queue. So I won't do that just now. So I'll just click on to confirm tag. And what the system is actually going through the process of doing now is an OCR process. So it will actually be reading the documents in full and picking up any of the information that it recognises within there. So if I just refresh my screen, we'll see the invoices have now reappeared. You know, these are the real invoices because we've got time and date stamps next to these invoices to show that these are the ones that I've just added into the system. I'm sure you'll trust me anyhow. So what I'm going to do is book a document individually to start off with, and then I'll show you how we can actually do bulk bookings in the system as long as the information has been recognised. So if I just click onto book, so imagine, you know, this is first time. I have used Amazon before in my demo, so what the system has actually done is dropped in the supplier details for me here. It spotted those supplier details because it is looking at the address fields or the VAT number on the invoice. Amazon invoices are particularly nice to use in demonstrations because it does have VAT numbers on and so on, but you can get the system to look for any of the supplier information you want, and it will do its best to auto-populate that supplier field for you in here. You'll see some of the other boxes have actually been completed for us. So things like the transaction date, it's automatically dropped it into the correct Twinfield period for management accounts within there. That data is coming back from Twinfield, and at all times this will actually read and write from Twinfield, and exactly the same for Xero. So if I do update supplier details within here, it will actually write it back to the accounting application for me as well. It's also picked up the amount of the invoice within here. It should have picked up the VAT rate for me further down as well. It's also picked up the currency within there. So it has dropped it into Amazon. As I said, if I do click onto edit, you will see the information that I have got stored on my Twinfield client for Amazon, which is why it's been able to make such a perfect match on this occasion. Of course, if it doesn't match it to the correct supplier, I've still got full ability within here to match it to a different supplier if I wanted to. So let's just cancel out of that screen. Moving further down, it has picked up an invoice description. It is an incorrect invoice description. It's actually using a posting rule. So you may remember I mentioned this on the PowerPoint at the beginning. The posting rule is actually saying that when I go to Amazon, I always buy USB devices. Now, anybody who goes to Amazon knows you can get just about anything from milk and bread to all your stationery supplies. I don't work for Amazon, this is an advertisement, but you can get anything you want from there. So you probably wouldn't have an invoice description saved in your posting rule for Amazon because it could be different every time you see an Amazon invoice. So what I'm going to do in here is, rather than type in that lovely long description, I'm going to use my mouse, which you'll notice changes to a crosshair as I move over to the invoice, just to pick up some of the information that's within there. And then I'm going to just simply click in the invoice description, and it will go and pick up some of the information, including the product code within there. Now, I could choose to delete that if I didn't want to see that. I could add some additional information if I wanted, like quantities, whatever. It's entirely up to you. Now, further down for Twinfield, it does actually store the description twice. In Xero, you'll notice it only asks for the description once, but it is a mandatory field, so you do need to complete it. So rather than having to do that whole process again, what I'll do is just click on this copy invoice description button, and it will copy from the line above. You'll also notice in here we have some tick boxes, so not in payment batch. So what it will do is it will post it across into the bookkeeping software, but I could choose to leave it out of the payment run. So if this was an invoice that hadn't been paid already, I could actually remove it from the payment run. In exactly the same way, if it's a credit note, you could actually process credit notes via here as well. And Basecone will process both sales and purchase invoices. That's one of the key differences between us and the other competitors in this field. You can post it straight as final. So what I tend to do in my demonstration is post everything as provisional or draft. So draft within Xero, provisional within Twinfield, so I can point it out in my demonstration. But if you want to go straight for final, so you're not going to come back and edit this at any point, you can just hit this box here. You can also tell it to ignore any warnings in here. Maybe you're dealing with that warning on the other side. So what I'm going to do in here is just post this through as a Xero VAT. I could get it to just populate automatically all of the information within here. Okay, so just complete all of those fields. One of the things to point out, and I'll just move this up my screen, if it was a multi-line invoice, you can see here I've got the number 1. A multiple line invoice would give us additional lines within here. The way we add new lines is at the bottom of the screen in the little black box, there's a little plus, so we can just add line 2 within there, and exactly the same functionality if we were using it for Xero or Exact. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just click onto the book button. One of the options that I could actually use is, if I wanted to update the posting rules back to the accounting software, book and save the new posting rules. I'm not going to do that, as I said. I'm just going to book it straight across, and that should send it across into Twinfield. It will send it across into Twinfield. Should be a bit more confident then. So that's gone straight across, and you'll see what it's done is drop me on to the next exciting invoice from Amazon, which is the descaler for my coffee machine at home. So we would go through exactly the same process, and what I'm going to do is just speed these up a little bit for you, so you can see how we can change this. Now I'm just changing the invoice number, so it is unique. You'll notice it picked up, it was a duplicate invoice. I don't want it to stall at this point, so I'm going to do that now exactly the same. I'll just pick up some of the description within here, drop it into this field, and I'll just copy it down to the line below. And this time, instead of just booking it across, I'm actually going to put in an authorizer, and the authorizer I'm going to send it to is Louise Flux. And the way we do it is use the big brother eyes across the top of the screen just to send this out. to the authoriser. Now, what that has done for me with Twinfield is automatically tick the box here to say not in payment batch. So until it is authorised, it will not appear in that payment batch run for the accounts department. So again, I'll just click onto book and we go through the same process. It will successfully post it across into Twinfield and drop me on to the next invoice. I'm not going to sit here just processing all of my Amazon invoices. I'm now going to go back to the home screen within Basecone for you, and I'm going to go down to the third option on the left hand side, which I promised to show you. I use it on my Twinfield client because I have far more documents sat there waiting to be processed. It is the bulk booking or bulk validation screen, and what it will actually do for you is list all of the invoices with all of that booking information. Now, I'll show this after I've shown the booking process so you understand what each of the columns, which of the fields is actually relating to. And we work on a traffic light system. So we're looking for the green items that are ready to go. So this document is perfect. I could highlight anything with a green button next to it and book them across into the accounting software in one fell swoop. And one of the problems using demo software is we've only got a few number of invoices that we tend to churn through the demo software. So a lot of these are duplicates. So when I go next to the invoice number, it will tell me it's a double invoice. Others, it may be missing a description. It's not related to a specific supplier. And that's why they don't have a green mark next to them, if you were wondering. But what I could do from here is just select this individual one and click onto book. And that's how we would use the bulk booking screen. And you'll see how quick that was as well. So the more we use it, the more intelligence the Basecone package will learn, the more your bookkeeping software will learn about your individual suppliers, and then we'll have the ability to go in here, hopefully, and highlight a few more invoices and book them all across into the software at the same time. Okay, so that's how the process works from within the Basecone application. So what I'm going to do now quickly is flick over to my mobile phone. So I'm just using a little application called Lonely Screen to share my phone with you. And it doesn't matter whether you're using Android or iOS device on here. It doesn't work with Windows phones. I will point that out if anyone's still got a Windows phone, but you can use these applications on any mobile phone you have. So just as an additional layer of security, I've actually got a PIN code within here, which I'll just put in. Because I've got multiple companies available to me within Basecone, I do have a select company option, so your clients may have more than one company available to them. And the Spencer app is purely our capture app. So we use this to capture invoices. Remember what I was saying at the beginning, if we can get our clients involved, either by sending to a specific email address or using the application on their mobile phone to capture information, it should make your life a little bit easier and your office a little bit tidier, not having all your clients' bits of paper hanging around. So what I'm going to do is just click on the big plus icon at the bottom of the screen. One of the options that I get is to actually use my camera to capture an invoice, and lo and behold, I have an Amazon invoice here. I don't have to click to capture the image. All I do is hover over the image and it will actually pick that up for me. Now, it's actually giving me the option to process this as an invoice, or it's asking me to, do I want to process it as an expense? So using the Spencer application, you can actually create yourself an expense module within here as well. So as I've already processed an invoice, what I'm going to do is just start an expense claim within here. The process of sending it, of course, into Basecone is pretty similar. Okay, so I'll just go in here and say that I went to Amazon and I spent £60, and in here it will ask me, is it GBP or other, and I can go through here and actually say what sort of expense it was. So if I just post this to miscellaneous, it will drop that into the relevant nominal code for miscellaneous, which I have set up in the background of the Spencer application. It asks me for the date in there as well, so I could change the date as well. Now, If I had an expense claim open, it would actually ask me to add it to an expense claim, but it's not. It's asking me to create a new expense claim. So let's create a new expense claim, and we will call it September 11, which is the date today. And we can select a payment method. So is it a personal payment? So I need recompense for this. So you need to pay your employees back. Or am I reconciling it maybe to a company credit card? So I'll drop this as a personal payment, and then I would continue to add my individual items. So I will use the same image just for ease of use in this demo environment. So I'll just hover over the top of that. I'll click on done, and then I'll process information. So just ignore me what I'm typing in, but just to show you using maybe a different category, it will actually highlight all those individual categories for you on the app. Once your client or your staff member is happy with the expense claim, they can just click on to send, and it will send it across over into the web app for you to then manage the individual expense claim. So if we do that, and while I'm in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to my demo client, and I'm actually going to do the same invoice, but I'm going to send it across into my Xero client. So just click on to plus, click on the camera, hover over the top, and then we'll use that in our demo in a second. So let's process this as an invoice. So it's an Amazon invoice. We tag it this time as a purchase invoice. We can put any additional comments that we want within there, and we just click on done, and we send it across. So if we go back to our web application, as I suppose we should, so I can show you that those items are there. So if I go to my client within here, let's just refresh. Basecone, didn't need to refresh, it was there. There's a picture that I have just taken, and within our profit Twinfield client, if I scroll to the bottom of the screen, we'll see September 11 has actually put together a nice little expense claim for us. So we've got our cover sheet, and then we've got our receipts attached in the background, ready to be processed across into the bookkeeping software. Okay, so while I'm using my mobile phone apps, and this is all connected, let's just jump into the authorizing app. So you can't hear me. Oh, I'll come back. Sorry, I think it went a little bit quiet, and we might have lost a connection, so apologies. So what I've done is I've just jumped back in to my mobile phone, and this time I've come into my authorizing app. So this is Flux. If you remember, I mentioned it within the presentation right at the beginning of PowerPoint. So the people that would use this are maybe people within the accountancy practice who would be authorising expenses, or if you are using Twinfield or Xero for your own practice accounts, there may be invoices of a higher value that need authorising by a director. I am going to show you how easy it is to use this product in a second. Or it could be your clients using this, so maybe you do all of the bookkeeping processing for them, but before you release things for payment, you want them to authorise it within the system. So within the Twinfield client first, and I will come back to this on the Xero client, it's just bringing me a list of all of the documents that I have sat within here waiting for authorization. So if I go right to the bottom of the screen, do you remember that Amazon invoice that I processed not long ago? So if I just open that invoice up, and I'm going to concentrate on the corners now of the invoice. So the first corner, top right hand corner, you'll see a little eye. The little eye will tell me who the authorizers are of this document. So this document only has one authorizer, which is me. There could be up to 3. If the other people had authorized, you would have a little green tick next to their name. What you can also do is, if something's been sent to you by mistake by the accounts department, I know they would never do that, but just in case they do, you can click on the change authorizer option here and send it to another authorizer within your organisation. Moving down to the bottom left-hand corner, there is a little comments field. So if you wanted to send comments back to your accounts department, you could do that. So if I just say, please pay, and I will send that back, and then I will close that. I'll have a comment on there as well when we come to look at this later on. In the bottom right hand corner is for those of you a little bit like me, can't really see the image. So you want to go through and have a look at all of the detail that has been processed so far to date. So we've got all the header information as we saw within Basecone, and then the actual posting line. So which general ledger code it's been posted to, or nominal code if it's been assigned to a project or a cost centre within here. So that's what the four corners do. The functional items within here are really how we authorise the document and how simple it is to do. So at the bottom of the screen, you have a cross to reject, you have a little pause button to skip it and maybe come back to it later on, and you also have a big tick, sorry, to approve it. In exactly the same way that other applications work, like popular dating apps, you can also swipe. So if you want to approve the invoice, you can just swipe it over to the right. If you want to reject, you can swipe over to the left. And if you want to skip it or go to the next one, you can just draw it down to the bottom. So if I wanted to approve this, I can just move it across in here, and it will actually remove it from my list for approval, and it will release it within the Twinfield application. So let's just jump across, and we're going to have a quick look now within Twinfield as to how those invoices look and where the connections would be. So within Twinfield, from any of the posting screens that you've got, any of the reports that you've got set up, you'll be able to drill all the way back down into that Basecone information. Exactly the same for Xero when I come across and show you that in a second. So we can go to our draft postings, which, if you remember, I said to you, I process all of my purchase invoices as draft postings. So we've got a list of all of the documents sat within here, including the two that I've processed today. So you will see modified date. If I just drill down onto those postings, it will show me the posting screen within Twinfield. And then once that comes up on your screens, we will actually be able to drill down into the Basecone area as well. So I think that's just popped up on your screens. So there is an option here to connect through to Basecone, and then that will actually bring up the invoice for you on your screen. And the options that you have as a client or an accountant is to download it. You can print a copy of it, or you can look at the timeline, so the full timeline for that individual invoice, including who supplied it, who tagged it, who authorised it, when it was booked across into the accounting software. A little bit boring on this occasion because it's got my name next to everything. But the Basecone transaction or the image is attached to everywhere, so it doesn't matter what report or what area within Twinfield it is that we're looking at. So if we specifically went into supplier agent, let's have a summary view of that. Again, we could go into our Amazon client within here, into their individual agent report, and find the individual invoice within there if we wanted to have a look at it. Okay, so enough about Twinfield. I am going to whiz through this on the Xero side as well. So let me just log into my Xero client, which is Mango Bar. So just log in back in. What you will see when we're in Xero is I am in the accounts area. Within the purchases area, we've got 3 items sat in there at the moment. We've got 1 item sat in there for approval as well. So I'm going to push a couple of more documents across into here, just so you can see it working with Xero, just for confirmation purposes. And I'll also show you how we move it from the approval process within here over into the awaiting payment field using the Flux application. Okay, so back into Basecone, across into Mango Bar, into that Amazon invoice. I'm just going to click onto book. So remember, this is a picture that I took using my mobile phone. So this is the image that I see over on the left hand side, and you can see on the right hand side the information that it's picked up already. If I click on edit next to the supplier details, you can also see that we've written the supplier details back into the Xero application here. I know many users who are using Xero may have just put a supplier name in here, so you will be going through that process of updating. Slight difference in here, there's no need for two descriptions using Xero, so we'll point those out when I can. The account code, we haven't got a posting rule saved on this supplier for Xero client, so I'm just going to put this in as a general expense. So as we scroll down on here, it does ask us again for the description. So let's just go through here and let's just pick up, using my mouse, part of the description, and let's just drop it into that field here. Again, if I wanted to add additional lines, I could do that using the bottom. If I wanted to use the authorization, I've still got the Big Brother eyes across the top at the screen. If it is a duplicate invoice, I don't want to process it again. It is also picking up those invoice numbers from Xero in there, so it will highlight that to me. So nothing has changed between the Twinfield and the Xero application. So we'll just click onto book, and that will send the document over into Xero. So if I just refresh that screen, you should see now I have 4 items sat within there, including the invoice that I've just sent across. So if I just click onto that, those of you that know Xero will know this screen. It shows me the posting that I've made, including the description I dropped into Basecone. The image is on the left-hand side of the screen, and I have also got the ability to link back to the Basecone image with the full document timeline in there as well. So exactly the same. Using the Flux application for the authorization process. So let's just have a look at what's in there waiting approval. And let's just go over to my mobile phone for the Xero client quickly. So I'm just switching companies on my phone, and then I will share my screen with you. Okay, so you can now see my mobile phone. So we've got our Mango bar, so hopefully that invoice is one of the ones that I can approve. It is. So we can see here we have an invoice that needs approving exactly the same way. We can click on any of the 4 corners, see who the other authorizers reallocate it, to another authorizer. We can see all of the posting details that have been put in there, but more importantly, we can still use the simple swipe functionality. So if I just swipe that across for approval and then jump back into my Xero client, okay, so when we're looking at our Xero client, hopefully that's coming up on your screen. I'm just watching a recording next to me, so hence the little lag there. So I'm just going to refresh my screen, and what you will see is that item has now moved out of the awaited approval queue, and it's popped itself across into the awaiting payment queue. So that's how the authorization process would work within the Xero application using the Basecone functionality. So as I said, just to recap, within there we've seen Basecone working with Twinfill, we've seen it working with the Basecone with the Xero application. One final thing I wanted to show you within here is the archive facility and how easy it is to actually recall the documents back to screen. So if I just click onto my archive, you'll see a list of all of the invoices that I maybe have processed using the application. So either they've been added using the email feed, it could have been I pulled them off my PC because they've been sent to me in another format, or it could be I've used my mobile phone to capture these images. They're all slightly different, but all occasions what I can use is the archive facility just to look for descriptions. So if I was looking for a particular word like banana, for instance, I know on these invoices that I have here that there is a banana yogurt, and it's actually gone and fetched me that invoice within a matter of microseconds. You can't beat that with using paper records, and this is where the real power of automating this whole invoice process comes down to. So we believe at Wolters Kluwer that we've made good choices. We've linked the product with our own bookkeeping software. We've also integrated it with the Xero application as part of our open integration program. We've become partners with Xero. We also work with Exact Online for this application at the moment, and others will follow in the UK market. What we'll be doing is continuing to develop this product further and onwards for the UK market specifically, working with the digital specialist team at Wolters Kluwer to provide this solution. We've also managed to negotiate a new fixed fee for Basecone. So if maybe you looked at Basecone a while ago and you want to come and have a look at it again now, we charge per client per month rather than on the number of transactions that you're processing. So some of your smaller clients you may lose, some of your bigger clients you're definitely going to win. And I'm thinking specifically about users of other applications like Receipt Bank, Auto Entry, where you might be still paying per transaction, you may not be on a fixed fee. It may be a good time to have a look at the Basecone product. We have a UK website for Basecone. If you wanted to have a look at that website, the address is just basecone.com, and you can put /EN at the end. It will drop it into English for you. All of the pricing details are on there. There's also the ability to sign yourself up for a free 14-day trial within there. If you do sign up for a trial, one of the digital team will give you a call and make sure that everything is working okay, make sure you're connected to the correct application. And then after that 14 days, if you decide you want to go live, you just upgrade the software. You don't need a new login, and you can start going live with the product immediately. So it is an immediate sign up for that application. So as I said, within here, shown it with both Twinfield and Xero. I am going to leave it open in the background because I'm sure there's a few questions, and hopefully we've got time for questions. I'm just going to finish off by going back to the PowerPoint presentation for completeness. Make sure I don't forget anything. So Basecone is 100% a cloud application. We spoke about that. All of your documents will be stored safely in Basecone for 10 years. At the end of the 10 years, if you decide you want those documents back, we can send them on a USB, or we can put them into another secure archive for you. Or some clients have asked for them on a DVD drive, but 10 years more than covers you for the recommendation by the revenue within the UK market. It's real-time processing. Everything I've done today is live. Everything I've done today has been tethered from my mobile phone, so you don't need super fast internet. You can do this anywhere, and there are no smokes and mirrors. This is real live processing from Basecone into Twinfield Xero. I can't show you exact, will show you exact, but those are the applications that it will actually work with. Your posting rules, all of your client information can be updated from Basecone back into Xero, back into Twinfield, so you can do everything on a real-time basis. We've shown you the workflow process. We'll continue to expand that workflow process because there are a lot more things that we can do with it. We appreciate that, but it will stop invoices within your accounts department being paid without the proper approval, and that is the main purpose of that area of the software. So recap: real-time, efficient, effortless products just for smart processing, scanning, matching, approving and booking of your documents across. We are going to open it up for questions now. So one of the first questions was, I'm sorry, I got a message back just tell me my audio is fine. That's not a question. Can you change the information in Flux before authorization so the project cost center nominal codes? Yes, you can change the information. Oh, sorry, not within the Flux application. No, the authorizer can't change. So what they would do is they would reject it with a comment. So when you reject with a comment, it will come back into Basecone, into the reject box. You'll be able to see the comments within there. So I'll get the application back up on screen. I don't know if I've got any on Xero client. Yeah, I have. So we've got things like don't pay. So it goes back to the accounts department so they can go back in and reallocate it. So you could put your messages in here. An example of sending a credit note to Xero. Katie, I haven't got one, so can we come back and do that later on with you? That'd be great. Will the link be provided to view this recording again? Yes, we'll make sure that the link is sent out to everyone. We have recorded the session so you can share it. You can also, on the Basecone website, book yourself a one-to-one demo in there as well. That's not an issue. Or contact your CCH or digital specialist account manager at Walters Clough, and they'll either come out and see you or do a web demo for you. The email generated that we used is email generated. Okay, Sharon, I'm going to have to come back to you on a couple of your questions. I haven't got full sentences, so I don't really know. Fixed price per client is on the website for accountancy practice. It's £8.50 per client per month and limited transactions. You have to sign up for a minimum of 10 clients. If an SME or a business wants to come direct to us, we are trying to push our clients via our accountancy channel. It's what we do at Walters Clough. We try and be the #1 supplier and vendor to the accountancy practice, but we will charge, and it is all on the website, it's not hidden, £29 to our SMEs, our business clients, per month per company, and that is for a maximum of 2,000 transactions per year, which sits in line with some of the cloud bookkeeping products that are out there as well. If they do need additional transactions, if it's just 10, we're not going to change the subscription, but if they've significantly over that, we can come to an agreement with them on what the price would be. Simon asked a question about will it be integrated with Sage. We are open with our integration, potentially Sage, the priority, next priority based on our client feedback, and we do what clients ask us for is QuickBooks. So we think QuickBooks will be next, and then Sage, it will have to be the cloud version of Sage, not the live drive versions that are connected just for data purposes. It has to be true cloud. Can you deal with a batch upload of invoices? And also, is there a delay of this being processed? We can deal with batches of invoices. You can send as many invoices. So I don't know if you missed the start of the presentation, but let's do this on the Xero client. So I can either send over multiple invoices to the specific email address. I can use my mobile phone to capture individual invoices, send them over individually, or I can actually use the bulk upload facility in here. And again, what I'll do is I'll just highlight quite a few documents within here, just so you can see that I can open them all up at the same time. If it does come through as a multi-page invoice, as this one has here, what you can see, and I didn't show you on the demonstration, is there is a split option where we can actually decide to split that out into 3 pages as well. So if I just click onto split, that will show you there are a hell of a lot of invoices now sat within that in tray for the Xero client. So hopefully that's answered that question. Okay, I think I've whistled through the questions. Thank you all very much for attending. I will just finish on the social media slide for you on here. So if any of you do want to connect with Walters Clough, you're not already connected with us on social media platforms, it is the best way to get information about other upcoming webinars. If you found this one useful today, hopefully you did. You can connect with us via our webpage, on LinkedIn or on Twitter. and you'll see some of the news and things that are happening at Waters Clear. But that just leaves me to thank you all for your attendance, and we'll send the recording out to you tomorrow. Thank you.